Welcome back. Elon Musk may be relatively new to Washington as a power broker, as someone who wields a chainsaw and talks about relentlessly cutting the size of the federal government workforce. But he has long been a fixture, not only in Silicon Valley, but across the entire state of California. Emma Anderson joins me now. She is the California tech editor for Politico. Emma, talk to our audience about Elon Musk's long history in California, his departure from California, and where things stand now.
Sure, and thank you so much. We're seeing what we're seeing in how Musk is approaching Washington is very familiar in Silicon Valley. This sort of fail fast approach, seeing what breaks, trying new things. That's something that is quite common in the tech world, trying to figure out, how to make changes within a company. We saw how Musk did that with Tesla, for example, looking at each component of how you make a car and try things differently. And then when he took over Twitter, making big changes there and then bringing people back. So it's certainly interesting to see that approach now being translated in Washington.
And Emma, he has a rather large profile in the conversation about the future of artificial intelligence. California's legislature is going to debate again regulating artificial intelligence. Elon Musk in the past has weighed in on that. First question, is the California law, should it ever emerge, going to be something that could set a national standard on this? That's why it's important outside the borders of California. And to what effect will Musk's advocacy or opposition have on that debate?
Sure. So there was a major bill last year in the state legislature that Elon Musk backed. It was basically would have subjected large AI models to safety testing. But ultimately, it had a huge pushback from other people in the tech world, and including leading Democrats in Congress like Nancy Pelosi, who argued it would stifle innovation, would be too restrictive. And ultimately, Gavin Newsom did veto the bill. So it is now has sort of reemerged in a new form, a bit of a scaled back form, focused more on whistleblower protections, among other things. So we're still watching to see what will happen with that bill. Newsom, when he did veto the previous bill, set up an expert group of AI academics to weigh in on, how should we approach AI safety. So that's another thing that we're going to be watching is what comes out of that group that Newsom set up. How will that influence this new bill that's being proposed and other legislation that the California state legislature comes up with? There are a number of other bills about AI, but a lot of folks here in California are watching what comes out ultimately of those findings to determine the shape of legislation here and then potentially other states.
You mentioned Governor Gavin Newsom. In the aftermath of the 2024 election, he's decided to launch his own podcast. He recently had Steve Bannon on that, and they talked about Elon Musk. Let's give a quick listen.
He wants to be the first trillionaire in the world. I mean, what's his end game here?
Well, you guys, you created him, Governor. I mean, you
By
guys.
the way, in many respects, California did. It was our regulatory process and our subsidies to create this market. You're 100% right. I think you're right about that.
That from the This Is Gavin Newsom podcast. So, California helped create Elon Musk. They've since become estranged. What does that mean for things?
Sure. I mean, I guess one thing to note, though, is his companies still have a big presence here, right? Twitter and Tesla and SpaceX, even his smaller company Neuralink and his AI company. So that is one important thing, I guess, to note is there is still this huge presence of Musk's companies. But I do think it's interesting in that interview as well with Newsom and Bannon is kind of a place where they do find some kind of common skepticism a little bit of Elon Musk. Both have had, different interactions with him, and Newsom has had some, kind of an interesting relationship with Musk. Obviously, Tesla is part of this EV push that California and Newsom have sort of been really strong about. But also, but also there's been clashes like about the AI safety bill and about other labor disputes in California as well.
Emma Anderson, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.